The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to those expressing them and do not necessarily reflect the OSIP Foundation Incorporated or any other group or individual. This podcast may contain dialogue or subject material that could be considered for mature audiences only. All aspects of How You Play the Game and the OSIP Foundation Incorporated are protected by copyright and other state and federal intellectual property laws. Unauthorized use without the express written consent of the OSIP Foundation Incorporated is strictly prohibited. If you're interested in sponsoring How You Play the Game, please email us at podcast@osipfoundation.org. Your sponsorship may be tax deductible. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of How You Play the Game, the official podcast of the OSIP Foundation Incorporated. Yours truly, Jack Furlong, with you as we talk to you about what's going on as far as the world of sportsmanship is concerned. This is the first episode of the month of October. Can't believe it's October already. The year is 2023. So glad you can be with us as always. If you'd like to contact the show, you can always first check us out online at osipfoundation.org, or you can use the email address podcast@osipfoundation.org. On social media, we're at facebook.com/osipfoundation, and Twitter and Instagram are both at OSIP Foundation, hashtag How You Play the Game. Our producer-engineer today, Sean Ryan, once again is taking some well-deserved time off. He totally deserves that, but I'm sure he will be back very, very soon as his vacation has ended, and Lord knows he's going to try and extend that as long as he can. God bless him. Anyway, we have a situation that we'd like to discuss today that has kind of evolved recently. It's an unfortunate situation, and it's still ongoing. So we don't have all of the information yet that we need to really create proper opinions and statements and whatnot. But it really hits home for us. For those of you who remember when OSIP was started back in 2013, one of the events that really motivated me, or pushed me over the limit to say I have to do something about this, was the attack on Brian Stowe in Los Angeles. This was a man who was brutally beaten outside of Dodger Stadium because he was wearing a Giants jersey, and it led to this feeling of just saying we can't do this anymore because this young man is now permanently brain damaged and he'll never be the same. Well, unfortunately, we have an incident that has just occurred recently where a young man has passed away due to something like this, and it's time we start examining it. Again, we don't have all the information yet, but I'd at least like to present what we do have so that our listeners understand that this problem continues to rear its ugly head, and it's not going away. We've made some great strides in trying to renew the standard of sportsmanship in our culture, but there's still a ways to go. And when we hear a story like this, it further emphasizes why we have to exist and what we have to do to change everything. So let me just kind of give you the information that we do have here. The young man who unfortunately lost his life is named Dale Mooney. He was a New Englander, big fan of the Patriots and the Red Sox and whatnot. And if you do a simple search for Dale Mooney, you can find plenty of news articles about what happened and whatnot. Essentially, here's what we know at the time. Okay, this incident occurred at a football game that was at Gillette Stadium between the host New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. It was a Sunday night football game at the beginning of the season, and Dale Mooney was a 53-year-old New Hampshire resident, and he essentially fell unconscious in the fourth quarter of this game in the upper deck, and he was unable to be revived. Witnesses were essentially questioned about the whole thing, and what we believe to know at this time is that a Miami Dolphins fan punched him, and Mooney fell, and emergency medical staff came to try and revive him. They took him to a local hospital, and around 11 o'clock that night, he was pronounced dead. Your initial response to something like this is obviously horrific. A young man innocently lost his life when a rival fan punched him. And those are the types of things that we at OSIP are trying to stop. It is inexplicable that these types of things happen. We can obviously, start to ask questions about whether or not alcohol was involved. We can ask questions about what type of person would do this. There are a lot of different variables here that we simply do not know exactly, what's going on. And without that information, it's tough to pass a full judgment, and really begin to reach a verdict on what happened. As the story evolved, and as we learned more, obviously the widow of Dale Mooney has come out and just been distraught. She has asked questions. She wants to know why this happened and whatnot. And believe me, I'm sure everyone can agree that we all extend our deepest condolences and sympathies to the Mooney family, because this should not have happened. Even without all of the information, this still should never have happened. And we need to do our best to stop that and to change course here. But we continued to follow the story, and a couple of different things began to come out. The first thing that came out was, as witnesses were interviewed and cell phone video was reviewed and whatnot, there seemed to be this idea that the tussle, if you will, was divided equally, in that Mooney wasn't just necessarily sucker punched. There was some sort of equal fight where maybe Mooney approached him, and that's how the whole thing started. Like I said earlier, we don't know if alcohol was involved. We don't know what was said to spark this. And this is not meant to negate or distract us from the fact that a man lost his life. Instead, it's simply to demonstrate that we just don't know everything yet. It's possible that Mooney was acting inappropriately as well. Maybe he had a few drinks and decided to confront a fan. We just don't know. I'm not saying that happened, and I'm not trying to take away from the fact that this man, I keep calling him a young man. I understand he's 53, but to me that's young. That this should never have happened. So with those variables, it's really tough to figure out exactly how we should feel to a certain degree. Obviously, like I said, we should feel sorrow, and we should feel, the grief that goes along with something like this. But we just don't know exactly what happened. Was this tussle, equal parts, and then one punch changed it? We just don't know. We simply do not know. And until we get more information, it's tough to know exactly how we should feel. Further, there was an autopsy performed, and the medical professionals who did the examination here have at the time of this recording stated that there was not a traumatic injury that caused the death. They believe that it was an unrelated medical issue. Now, they were not clear as to what happened because they're saying that they are still investigating. But, that leads us to the questions of, so what are we saying here? Are we saying that this man, just happened to be punched, but that happened to trigger something that he would, that was already in him, where he was about ready to, he was going to get killed no matter what? It's a very tough thing to say, but that's what the official medical report reads right now. We also have not heard from the Dolphins fan who committed this atrocity, who's on the other side of this. So without this information, even though, investigations are ongoing because we do want to find the truth, like I've said, it's tough to know how to feel. Now, as you experience these things, and try and comprehend what is actually happening here, I feel like it's very easy to just say, this Dolphins fan is guilty. This should have never happened, etc. And I don't disagree with this necessarily. I guess the message I'm trying to say here is that real sportsmanship understands that there is still too much vagary. There are still too many variables. We still have reasonable doubt. And as a result of that, our feelings on the matter can only go so far. OSIP has not taken an official stance on this yet because we just don't know what exactly has happened. We just don't. Okay? We know a man is dead. We know how it is perceived. Okay? And let's face it, perception is everything to a certain degree. Okay? The way that this is being perceived and portrayed makes this out to be pretty darn bad. Okay? But the question remains, will we ever 100% know exactly what happened here? And we never really know 100% sometimes because there's always going to be a lot of he said, she said in many of these types of cases. But we can reach that saturation point where we say, we got a pretty good idea what happened here. Is there a 5% chance that something else may have happened? I'm sure there may be, but 95% chance we kind of know. That's in the court of public opinion, that's a lot. So, it breaks my heart because the situation is obviously terrible, and yet the investigation is still ongoing. So it's tough to know exactly what we should do and how we should feel. I know I sound like I'm spinning my wheels a little bit. I get it. I totally get it. It's just tough. When this happened a few weeks ago, I've been keeping these tabs open on my internet browser to remind myself to continue to search for more information. I want to find out what went down because as an organization that focuses on these things, we want to know. We want to have the entire truth, so that we can act appropriately. How do you reach out to a grieving widow to express yourself and your feelings and whatnot, only then if we were to find out that hypothetically Mooney was wasted and he was the aggressor. Now all of a sudden that paints a different picture. And again, I'm not saying that's what happened. What I'm saying is that without this information, we just don't know. And I caution everybody to understand that we do need to see all of this information just for what it is. It's very easy for people to hear what I'm trying to say and read what they're reading here in the news and whatnot and formulate their own opinions and jump to their own conclusions immediately. And that's part of the way that we're conditioned in our society. Sportsmanship in the media. It's meant to evoke feelings and reactions rather than allowing us to take a step back, consider sources, use logical reasoning to figure out what we feel is accurate and why it is accurate and justify it and whatnot and come up with our own individual opinions based upon the facts that are presented to us. It's a different world, But I wanted to take this time to at least let everybody know We are aware of this situation. We are monitoring this situation. And I believe that we will be able to say more about it once more information actually is released. In the meantime, until then, we share the grief of the Mooney family, and we are so sorry. Our condolences on the fact that a young man lost his life when he did not need to. And we certainly will be thinking of all of them who are hurting, as we all are, because this should not have happened. And we'll have more to say on it when that information is presented. But until then, we just want everybody to know that we're aware of it, we're monitoring it, and we'll comment further when that information is out. And remember, maybe it doesn't come out, in which case, we're going to be in a standstill. That's okay. That's really okay. Maybe that's what the family wants. We don't know. We just don't know. But I want to thank everyone for listening and for taking the time to understand that, we are aware of this and we're monitoring it, and we'll hopefully have more information and be able to comment further, and use this to become better, to try and get more people to understand how imperative this issue of sportsmanship is. So I want to thank you again for joining us. And I wish we had a happier episode, but it is what it is. As always, check us out online at osipfoundation.org. Contact the show with the email address podcast@osipfoundation.org. We're at facebook.com/osipfoundation, Twitter and Instagram at osipfoundation, #HowYouPlayTheGame. And we'll talk to everybody in just a few short weeks. And until then, treat each other with respect. How You Play the Game is a production of the OSIP Foundation, Incorporated. The producer-engineer of this episode is Sean Ryan. Music by Soundspring Studio. The executive producer of How You Play the Game is Jack Furlong. For more information, visit osipfoundation.org.